minutes past, so I hope we'll have 6 more minutes at the end. I don't know. Then, thank you all for attending today. This side event is coordinated by Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries Japan, MAFF, Japanese Agriculture Company, Inc., Japan International Research Center for Agricultural Science, JIRCAS, Bangladesh Rice Research Institute, BRRI, and International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. In this session, these 5 organizations will give us presentations on their respective actions for food systems transformation. This will then be followed by a short panel discussion later in the session. Strategy MIDORI, quoted in this event's title, is the Japan's national pathway. Based on this strategy, Japan is trying to increase production potentials and improve sustainability in agri-food sector through innovation with the engagement of stakeholders at each stage of food supply chains. In addition, some of Japan's efforts could be applied to other countries, which pave the way for collaboration with overseas organizations. Today, we'd like to share our efforts and experiences towards sustainable agri-food systems so far. To save time, presenters will be introduced just before each presentation. My name is Yuko Watanabe of MAFF Japan, and I will moderate throughout this session. Then let's start with the first presenter, Mr. Katsumata Takaaki, State Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, Japan. The title of the presentation is Strategy MIDORI and Innovation Initiatives for Transforming into Sustainable Agriculture and Food Systems in the Asian Monsoon Region. State Minister Katsumata, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Takaki Katsumata, State Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries of Japan. I am pleased to welcome all of you for this event on food system transformation. Today, we are facing big challenges of how to achieve sustainable food systems. Agriculture, forestry, and fisheries are the key players because they can contribute by storing carbon. In today's session, we look forward to hearing many ideas and thoughts. Next slide, please. Next slide. 俺自分でやるの。はい。Okay. I'd like to talk about Japan's strategy called Strategy Midori and its background. Japan's agriculture needs to change because of various reasons. First, the number of farmers is decreasing and they are aging. Second, due to climate change, we have more extreme weather and natural disasters than before. Third, we witnessed supply chain disruptions caused by COVID-19. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is an important issue. In Japan, the total amount of methane gas emission has been reduced over the years, but still the agriculture, forestry, and fisheries sectors are major source of its emission. However, here I'd like to emphasize that Japan's per capita methane emission is considerably lower than that of major developed countries. In this context, Japan announced the strategy MIDORI in 2021, which aims to boost productivity and sustainability in the agriculture, forestry, fisheries, and food industries through innovation. The word Midori means green or fresh in Japanese. Toward 2050, we have set 14 ambitious targets, including reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, reductions of chemical fertilizer and chemical pesticide use, and increase of organic farming. Here you can see some of the goals. To achieve them, we will scale our existing cutting-edge technologies, develop additional new technologies by 2040, and disseminate them by 2050. The strategy MIDORI encourages stakeholders' effort at each stage of the food system, namely input, production, processing, and distribution and consumption. First, as for inputs, we will promote replacement of fossil fuels, chemical fertilizers, and animal feed with more sustainable material source. The next is in the stage of production. I will talk about it later and skip it now. In the processing and distribution area, we will reduce food loss and streamline the distribution operation by AI-based demand and supply forecasting. Finally, in terms of consumption, consumers' understanding is essential to realize sustainable food systems. Education to help consumers make sustainable food choices, fostering supporters of organic farming, and projects in collaboration with the food industries can be effective. In addition, a new act entered into force to promote the strategy MIDORI last year. This MIDORI Act gives incentives for activities that reduce the environmental impact of agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, such as the introduction of environmentally friendly farming machinery. Also, we launched a framework to organize national and local government to tackle the challenge together. Speeding up of innovation is essential to improve sustainability. Smart agriculture technologies using digital and AI can improve the efficiency of agricultural production. Moreover, it can also help to reduce environmental impact. Japan is now promoting a lot of useful technologies. The upper left is pinpoint spraying of pesticides and fertilizers using AI technology. The picture in the upper middle side is an iGamo robot that automatically changes paddy fields to control weed growth. The picture on the upper right shows smart grasses that use augmented literary technology to help new farmers perform tasks in the same ways as experienced farmers. These are only a few examples of our efforts. We are also trying to visualize farmers' efforts to reduce environmental impact. In our trial, how much greenhouse gas emission has been reduced compared to conventional farmers can be seen by the number of stars on the label, making it easy for customers to understand. Ms. Onishi, who has joined the visualization pilot project, will share her experience later in this session. Furthermore, we believe the use of carbon credit will create a virtuous cycle between the environment and the economy. Through the scheme, private funding can be raised to support greenhouse gas reduction at product stage. Japan's use of innovation to transform the food system into a more sustainable one could be applied to other countries. In particular, the Asia monsoon region shared some common characteristics with Japan, such as high temperatures and humidity, rice cultivation, and high proportion of small-scale farmers. Japan hopes to contribute to the establishment of sustainable food systems in Asia and all over the world through the sharing of its experience and technologies. This is the end of my presentation. I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Katsumata. Now, let me introduce the second presenter, Ms. Onishi Chiaki, CEO, Japanese Agriculture Company, Inc. From a farmer's perspective, she will share her experience on initiative to visualize the reduction of environmental burden at the agricultural production stage and appeal to customers. Ms. Onishi, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I am Chiaki Onishi, CEO of long name Nihon Nogyo Kabushiki Gaisha Japanese Agriculture Corporation and an organic farmer. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I started my own business at the age of 20 while I was still in university because I desire a society filled with hope and sustainable future. With 13 years of experience in organic farming, I'd like to share my story. Why me? Why am I here? The average age of farmer is 67.9. I am a 33-year-old female farmer. I am an anomaly. When I imagine myself in 2050, it feels very real to me, especially now that I have 2 children, aged 5 and 7. Next slide. Next slide. During my university days, I began to take action by actively participating in volunteer work. as a major economic power, while we just throwing money at environmental and poverty issues. Would that improve them? It was around that time that I was invited by an upperclassman whom I was doing volunteer work with to experience agriculture. And that's when I encountered organic farming. The first agricultural experience I had was in a depopulated area. Next slide, next slide. Even in that area, remember, I was living in the second largest city of Japan, a population of 10 million people. Even there was shortage of farmers. Next. However, I discovered this place had clean air. Next point. A coexistence of plants and animals, fertile soil, delicious vegetables, and long-standing culture that I wanted to pass on to future generations. Agriculture gives us the strength to support our existence from its core and produce the source of life, which is food. I am convinced that producing our own food is critical for food security. Next, being in touch with the soil through agriculture teaches us many things. Next, the foundation of agriculture, which is the soil, becomes fertile through the power of microorganisms. Plants, even vegetables can actively can actively contribute. This fact makes us realize that we are part of nature and that our connection with the soil is essential when considering sustainable food system. Soil that loses diversity and balance leads to plant diseases and poor growth. We humans also maintain our health through the balance of diversity in lifestyle, a diversity in foods, and our maintenance of healthy gut bacteria. Next. With these challenges, we received a tailwind. The Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, MAFF, introduced the strategy for sustainable food system, MIDORI. Next. It is a challenge in the agricultural industry that the distance between producers and consumers is often large, as agricultural products typically reach consumers through wholesale markets. Next. To foster innovation among farmers and establish a direct sales channels with consumers, we have taken the initiative to process our own products. Next, and create our own brand called Tanto Soup. Next, which manufacture organic frozen soups in special paper containers that can be reheated in a microwave. Next, through our 3 company-owned stores, a direct connection with consumers, we could effectively and directly communicate the importance of organic agricultural products to consumers when participating in the visualization. Next, pilot project MAFF. Next, introduced by Mr. Katsumata, the State Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, the visualization in Japan intends to evaluate the farmers' effort to reduce environmental impact, and the visualization label can help consumers choose the environmentally friendly agricultural products. Consumers understanding how farmers try to reduce the environmental impact is essential for the transition to a sustainable food system. Here is another idea to communicate with consumers by introducing our soups as an entry point to showcase local farms. We have successfully attracted consumers to visit our farm and contribute to increasing the number of organic farmers in rural areas by utilizing their holidays to visit the countryside from urban areas. As one of the goals by 2050, stated in MIDORI strategy, Japan will increase organic agriculture to 25% of farmland. To achieve the goal, MAFF aims to create 100 organic villages by 2050. In our city of Kameoka, where our farm is located, we have made the declaration to establish an organic village. We are promoting our message to corporations in Japan. We have initiated a model where organic villages contribute their resources to the large urban areas. In Kansai, the region where our initiatives are based, the World X will be held in 2025. We aim to practice and promote organic farming, which serves as a starting point for a sustainable food system that the world's younger generation, as well as stakeholders within Japan, can lead. We hope to share our message from Japan's organic villages at the next Stocktake meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Onishi. Unfortunately, we'll have to excuse State Minister Katsumata for the remainder of the session due to another engagement. Thank you, Mr. Katsumata. Let me now introduce the third presenter, Dr. Funaki Yasuro, Director of Social Sciences Division, Project Leader of Green Asia, JIRCAS. He will outline the Green Asia project, which aims at contributing to develop a sustainable agriculture and food systems in the Asia monsoon region by utilizing technology developed in Japan. Dr. Funaki, I'll hand it over to you.
So thank you for the introduction. So I'll talk about technology and innovation contributing developing sustainable agriculture and food systems in the Asia monsoon region. Outline of the Green Asia project and give an overview and current activities of the project. So as the previous speaker presented the case report in Japan, but the strategy MIDORI could be utilized as a model for the development of a new sustainable food systems in the Asia monsoon region. In 2022, MAFF initiated the project accelerating application of agricultural technologies which enhance production potentials and ensure sustainable food systems in the Asia monsoon region. So JIRCAS is now conducting this project under the name of Green Asia. So JIRCAS is here, the Japan International Research Center for Agricultural Sciences, which has been conducting collaborative agricultural research with partners in developing countries for more than half a century. And let me explain a little bit about the Asia monsoon region, which is a target area of the Green Asia project. This region shares distinctive characteristics in agricultural sector, such as hot and humid climate, paddy rice farming with major rice growing areas, and a large number of smallholder farmers. With these characteristics, the Asia monsoon region embraces 44% of the world population, 9% of the world total land area, and 28% of the global GDP. In addition, 40% of the global non-CO2 greenhouse gases, which are methane emissions and nitrous oxide emissions from agriculture. So therefore, transformation of food systems in this region will significantly contribute to the global food systems transformation. So this is a Green Asia project. To coordinate the activity of this project, we have established International Scientific Advisory Board for Strategy MIDORI and International Center for Strategy MIDORI. And International Scientific Advisory Board provides advice and comments to the Green Asia project, and International Center analyzes research results and identify scalable agricultural technologies for the Asia monsoon region. And we also have the research associated with the accelerating application of scalable agricultural technologies through the joint research. So having this analysis and the joint research, so we'll disseminate information through the international fora such as G20 meetings, and as well as the global research alliances and so on. So this is a member of International Scientific Advisory Board for Strategy MIDORI. And it comprises of the outstanding scientists and executive officers of leading research institutes and universities who have in-depth knowledge of sustainable agricultural technologies in the Asia Monsoon region and around the world. So members are expected to provide advice and comments on research results, reports, and other outputs generated by the project. The first meeting of the advisory board was held in October last year, and the second one was held this year through the online meeting. And this is the International Center for Strategy MIDORI, and this was established within the JIRCAS. And the center serves as a hub for collection, analysis, management, and dissemination of research results and output of the project. And we also developed a newly this website, including the contents, as you can see here. And one of the activities of the Green Asia, and in cooperation with other concerned research institutes, we have developed this technology catalog contributing production potential and sustainability in the Asian monsoon region. So this catalog is a compilation of applicable technologies which were developed in Japan or through international collaboration over the past 10 years that are expected to contribute to building sustainable food systems in the Asian monsoon region. And we are now implementing 3 joint research on application of scalable agricultural technologies. So these are alternate wetting and drying technologies, and biological nutrification inhibition crops with high fertilization efficiency and low environmental impact, and international differential system for rice blast diseases. And as there is no one-size-fits-all approach, the application of these scalable agricultural technologies will be tested in the Asia monsoon region, especially in Bangladesh, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam for AWD, in Nepal for BNI, and in Bangladesh and Vietnam for rice blast. So with the Advisory Board and International Center for Strategy MIDORI, we at JIRCAS, we continue to play our role as a hub for all Japan activities and strengthening the network for international collaboration such as UN Food System Coordination Hub and FAO to contribute to transformation of the food system in the Asia monsoon region and beyond. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Funaki. Now, let me introduce the fourth presenter, Dr. Mohammed Ashq Iqbal Khan, PSO, Plant Pathology Division, BRRI. BRRI is a partner institution of JIRCAS under the Green Asia Project, and he will talk us about international research collaboration with JIRCAS for combating rice blast disease problem in Bangladesh. Dr. Khan, please go ahead.
Thank you for introducing me. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome all to our presentation. Now, I would like to present our collaborative research activities between BRRI and JIRCAS for combating rice blast disease problem in Bangladesh. Rice is the staple food of Bangladesh. More than 70% of the total crop area occupied by rice. We are growing rice 3 times in a year, called Aush, Amon, and Boro rice growing season. In Bangladesh, rice production increased more than 4-folds during the period of 1971 to 2022. Bangladesh secures 3rd position in global rice production since 2018. It was happened only due to the inspiration of the father of our nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the dynamic leadership of our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. In addition, scientists, extension personnel, farmers, and policymakers are providing their best effort to maximize rice production in Bangladesh. BRRI, Bangladesh Rice Research Institute, a government rice research institute playing an important role for developing high-yielding rice variety and their management practices to maximize rice production in Bangladesh. Despite these successes, Bangladesh also facing a lot of challenges for sustaining rice production in Bangladesh. Among them, climate change is the most important issue. There are two types of stresses occurring due to the climate change. Number one, abiotic stresses. Number two, biotic stresses. Abiotic stresses explained much by the environmental scientists, but the biotic stresses are not explained in the context of climate change substantially. So I would like to emphasize this point. Pest and disease management are the major issue in biotic stress. Among the different diseases, rice blast is the most important limiting factor for successful rice production in Bangladesh. Therefore, in this collaboration, we address rice blast disease, which is the most important biotic issue in relation to climate change in Bangladesh. So far, I know worldwide also. This is the scenario of abiotic stresses of rice production in Bangladesh. And this is the scenario of biotic stresses of major diseases and insect pests in Bangladesh. As I mentioned earlier, rice blast is the most important threat. And nowadays, it is the recurrent problem in Bangladesh. Most of the high-yielding rice varieties are highly susceptible to blast. Under favorable environmental conditions of the diseases, 100% yield may loss in the specific field. Application of pesticides are now only the way to combat this problem in Bangladesh. To overcome this crucial problem, BRRI and JIRCAS collaborative research project developed differential systems working together, their collaborative research since 2008, and developed the differential system for rice blast resistance studies in Bangladesh. Differential system is the basic tool for breeding and pathological studies. It consists a set of differential varieties that harboring a single blast resistant gene in the genetic background and a set of blast isolates that harboring corresponding avia gene in their genetic background. BRRI, with the collaboration of JIRCAS, selected 25 differential blast isolates for Bangladesh based on the differential varieties. And using of those varieties, or those differential system for identifying the effective blast resistant genes and also developing the blast resistant materials using the differential systems. Now, under the Green Asia project activities, BRRI and JIRCAS using the differential system to select blast resistant line and evaluate their productivity with and without pesticides. And this is the different activities of our collaborative studies. And this is the multi-location trial of blast resistant materials. We are trialing our materials at the blast hotspot of Bangladesh. And 2 blast resistant lines were selected and evaluating their productivity with and without pesticide and also under the control condition in our laboratory. Now, conclusion, international collaborative research between Bangladesh and Japan has significant potential to promote innovation in both countries by sharing their unique strength and perspective countries can work together to tackle pressing global challenges such as climate change. Moreover, such cooperation fosters intercultural understanding and promotes peace and prosperity. Thanks for kind attention. Joy Bangla.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. Now, let me introduce the final presenter, Dr. Toraya Triki, Director of Sustainable Production Markets and Institution Division, IFAT. The title of the presentation is Transforming Food Systems Through Private Sector Engagement, how IFAT engages with private sector to transform smallholder-based food systems. Dr. Triki, over to you.
Thank you very much, dear moderator, and a big thank you first to the Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries from Japan for the invitation and the opportunity to speak. I was taking notes as your minister was speaking. It's quite impressive, this MIDORI strategy, and I hope we can have a copy of the slides. So usually when I start my presentation, I assume that the audience is not necessarily familiar with IFAT. So I'm starting with the first slide. Who is IFAT? Next. If I can manage to have it. Okay, so we were created in the 70s with a dual identity of a specialized UN agency and an international financial institution to tackle a food crisis. So our mandate has never been as relevant as today, and so we focus on investing in agricultural rural development. Our niche is small-scale producer and rural poor who are operating in the food systems. So as you can see, our work is very relevant to a large number of SDGs, notably to SDG 1 and 2, which is about no poverty and zero hunger. We have a global mandate, and today we have about 93 countries in which we have active country programs. So my presentation will be focusing on how we've been trying to promote food system transformation, more inclusive and sustainable food systems by engaging with the private sector. So historically, we have been mainly working through public sector projects, but through this project, we have supported a lot of public-private partnership through both regular and blended finance interventions. So here you have on this slide few entry points to our work with the private sector. The most relevant ones is our value chain work and also our inclusive rural finance interventions. So just to give you a rough estimate, IFAD has an ongoing portfolio of $7 billion. We have done a stock take recently that shows that 79% of these ongoing projects are classified as value chain projects. So we do a lot of work in terms of value chain development, and we try to make sure that this is done in partnership with the private sector. So 93% of these value chain projects have entailed some form of collaboration between public sector, private sector, such as retailers, farm organization, input providers. And more than 1 out of 3 of these projects entails what we call public-private producer partnership. So these are fully-fledged partnership between the public, the private sector, but also where the producers and their organization are fully involved and also operating as an important partner in this collaboration. And I'll give an example later on a 4P. We have also invested over $1 billion in inclusive rural finance to promote access to credit, to saving, and to the various forms of financial solution, not increasingly to insurance in light of also the increasing pace of shocks and to be related to climate or conflicts. We have also been increasingly using blended finance to facilitate access to finance, notably for climate adaptation. Actually, 90% of IFAD funding in the climate space is for adaptation. So we're one of the most important actually operator in the climate adaptation space. And it's quite important keeping in mind that only 1.7% of climate finance goes to small scale producers. Through this inclusive rural finance intervention, we have been working with a lot of private sector entities, be it banks, be it microfinance institutions, saving associations, insurance companies, and increasingly also digitally based models. And I'll give an example later with fintech, agri-tech to crowd in investors. Into 2020, we also changed our articles of association to be able to fund directly the private sector, because we realized that the needs are huge and we need to really be more actively catalyzing private sector investments. So we have done so far 6 of these private sector direct investment for a total of 25 million. And these have a total project cost of 166 million. We have also sponsored the creation of a blended finance impact fund called the Agribusiness Capital Fund, that today has actually over 40 million of assets under management and a portfolio of more than 22 investments. And we are currently working on our first large-scale climate adaptation with the regional banks in East Africa. And the idea is to roll it to different regions. So our work with the private sector could be summarized through 3 pillars. So one pillar is about enabling. It's basically using the public sector investment, the project that we are supporting, to create an enabling environment for the private sector to work more with, to invest more in small-scale producer and rural poor, and to do it in a way that promotes food system transformation. So we are promoting models that allow for, let's say, use of climate smart agriculture practices, precision agriculture, more responsible use of natural resources. The second pillar is about catalyzing. It's investing or funding the private sector to catalyze its own financial service provision to small-scale farmers and rural poor. That could take the form of matching grants, tripartite cost arrangement, but also through our private sector financing program, we can offer loans, risk-sharing facilities, and also equity. The third one is about assembling, which consists mainly in taking an active role, leveraging IFAD own expertise, but also its financial toolkit to create large-scale platforms that could take the form of an impact fund or investment vehicle that will bring financing at scale, notably from the private sector. So here we have an example of how we have been enabling greater collaboration between the public and the private sector in Cambodia. So this project is called the Aspire, through which we have been supporting and working with producer organizations in various value chains, including poultry, rice, and cassava. And we have used a graduation model, which consists in basically providing different producer organizations with necessary support depending on their needs, depending on their situation. We have also linked them to private sector contracted companies to help them improve better production, improve their production technology. We have also helped them create market linkages with private sector buyers. So the results show that actually more than 50% of the direct beneficiaries have showed at least 30% increase in real net farming income. We have a total value of sales in 2022 of more than 40 million. And that shows actually how through this IFAD financing and also convening power, we are able to bring this win-win collaboration between small-scale producers and the private sector in a way that also respects the environment. So actually, I was quite interested in the organic farmer story earlier. Here you have also an example of how we are catalyzing funding. For the sake of time, because I was also told to be brief, I'm going to speak it, but this is, the first one is an example of a public sector project. Here, this is a direct funding to a private sector company. It's not in Asia, but I decided to showcase it because it's a model that is leveraging technology to bundle different sources. And that's one of the models that we find very promising. So we provided them with funding with long-term maturity to help them offer this franchise model that is actually bringing a lot of benefits to the small-scale producers. So some of the recommendations based on our experience, the first one, developing win-win partnership between the public sector and the small-scale producer is something that is feasible. IFAD work shows that it's actually something that we could do, but it requires aligning incentive. We cannot work with everybody. You need to work with private sector companies that are willing to do well while doing also good for the environment and for the communities. The second one is that requires early engagement. This is a long-term business. Do not expect these things to work in a few months. It takes time, it takes a lot of investment and efforts, and it takes also a market analysis. Actually, starting with market needs is extremely important. Securing a market is critical. And here I would like actually to express our words of recognition to the government of Japan for the trust in IFAD to lead on the ELPS initiative, which is an initiative meant to connect farmers and or farm organization to private sector companies. As I said, the market side is extremely important. We should not only focus on enhancing production. Third lesson, blended finance is extremely important. It has a lot of promises, but it's not a panacea. It's not because we are putting first a loss in the financial structure that will be able to solve the problem and transform food systems. It takes also different solutions, and through our private sector financing program, we have found other opportunities to be additional. So I hope that my presentation gave you a sense of the work that we do through IFAD, and yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Tricky. For your information, Japan and IFAD signed a joint statement on the strategic partnership at the occasion of G7 Agriculture Ministers meeting in April. And this is the first advocacy event based on the statement. Now, we're supposed to have the panel discussion, but I'm afraid we only have 4 minutes left. So we better, we'll skip it, and we'd better wrap up the session here. Now. So today, starting from the strategy MIDORI, it was found that the activities of various institutions are interrelated. As such, a collaboration among a wide range of stakeholders seems effective in achieving our shared goals. We'd like to continue and further strengthen this kind of collaboration. We made a leaflet of a strategy MIDORI and the technology catalog published under the Green Asia project available in this room. These informations are available on our website as well. We'd be grateful if you could refer to this information later. It's a bit earlier, but this concludes this side event. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.